My name is Helen and I'm a fashion illustrator and a print designer, and I'm going to do a workshop for you today called Experimental Fashion Design for Hospital Rooms. So yeah, I'm an illustrator, so that means sometimes that I will get commissioned to draw fashion looks or accessories for magazines, or sometimes specifically for clients. And also I'm a print designer, which means that I'm doing patterns for clothing. So for example, here we go. And actually some of the images that you might be drawing from will have been prints that I would have done, it's almost for a bikini, that I would have done for different clients. So yeah, it's a really versatile and quite diverse experience that I have as a creative, because my work can go anywhere, which is what I love about it. So just to tell you a few things about what's on my table, equipment-wise, we've got a nice variety. I've got some paint here. I've got my absolute favourites, woody stabilos. They're like these really solid crayons that sometimes people think are for kids. I mean, they are, but they work really well for me. You can press really hard. So it's always something to think about. How hard are you going to press on the page? So they work for me very well. These are great as well. Like, they're paints in a pen, essentially. So yeah, you've got this massive nib, and so I love playing with those. Got a few marker pens, Sharpies, paintbrush. And also what I'd say is with all this, and these are all like my broken bits of equipment, but keep everything. I use them to the bitter end, and they're broken because they're pressed so hard. That's why I'm always a big fan of those. But yeah, whatever equipment you've got today is okay. You can use a great variety, and yeah, in terms of paintbrushes as well, like I'm always like bigger the better, but yeah, I get mine from like hardware stores sometimes. I think sometimes people think you've got to spend a lot of money on your equipment. That does not have to be the case. So what we're going to do is a quick exercise, which is very much like part of my practice. It's how I start all my work, basically. And you can use it as a fashion illustration, but you can also use it to help you if you're interested in fashion design as well. What you might want to do before jumping straight into this is some warm-ups, and you can refer back to the live video that I believe is on YouTube. And I've got a few warm-ups there. Or you might just want to get a page and just like have a little scribble, or just look around and see if there's any objects and just maybe draw them without looking. I like to put timers on as well. So maybe you're going to put a stopwatch. Someone's going to give you a timer, time limit, and you're just going to draw a few things before you get started. So yeah, and I probably should have done that as well before doing this, but let's see. And that's actually a really important thing, because now I'm like, oh, is this going to be any good, what I'm about to draw? It's not always about whether it's any good, it's about what you can learn from your drawing. And the technique that we're going to do, which is a continual line, that really helps you look and observe. So my drawing, this process, is also about me learning about what I'm drawing. So I think observation is the real like key to drawing. Anyway, what we're going to do, I've got, and you may also have, a handful of images of some catwalk looks. And you can pick any that you choose to. You don't have to use these. You can, if you've got someone in front of you, you can draw them. I think I'm going to start with this one. Yeah, I think I'll start with this person here. There's a really nice silhouette to it, because that's what we're going to do first. We're just going to draw the outline. Use a pen if you've got a pen. That is good because it's going to give us a little bit more of a graphic feel. And then there's less pressure to make it exciting or creative. So I've just started without telling you what we're doing. We're going to keep the pen on the page at all times, and we are just going to almost like trace around the outline. We're going to feel as though our pen is like right next to the image. So I'm even going to get little things like the ear down, which normally I might like skip over, but I'm really going to start to engage perhaps a little bit more than I definitely would have done in my warm-ups, or a little bit more if I was just trying to get like a really cool drawing. I'm going to notice whether you can see on the camera, but maybe you can see yourself. I'm just noticing there's almost like a little gap, or it goes inwards for a second, and then there's like the cuff, and then suddenly we curve down. So I'm starting to have a conversation with myself. So that's really important, like really engage with the image. Start to find things that you haven't noticed or that you might not have noticed if you were using this technique. So again, think as well, and maybe I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit, but I'm drawing with more than just my wrist, and I'm like using my arm a little bit. I'm kind of exaggerating this now, but I just want you to think about engaging your whole body when doing this exercise. Because drawing is like the whole of you. It's like your mind, it's your body. It's not just like, oh, I'm just going to do a little tiny drawing. I think the more of yourself you can engage, the more exciting it will be. And you can notice, I think you can see my drawing, like that's a little off there. That's not quite how it should be, but because I've drawn it confidently, I think it looks like that's what I intended. But also, as I've said, it doesn't matter. It's about my experience of this drawing. So this is how you should do it, okay? Like really taking your time, engaging, like understanding the makeup of, or the landscape. You should not do this. Yeah, bam, bam, there we go, and done. Okay, so hopefully you can see the difference between the two, but also the difference in my experience. I know nothing about that side. I'm really, really quickly going to draw a second one, because it would be great if you had two figures. Like, you take your time, like pause this, take your time with this second one. I'm just getting it down on the page, so I can just remind you to overlap, because you can see that the figures are overlapping, and that can help us design-wise. So forgive me with my speed. You will take your time. But even though I'm rushing, I'm still noticing a thing or two. I'm still engaging. So you have a page similar to this. Really try and fill the page. I think that's always a great idea. And then we get to do the fun stuff. We get to draw inside here. Okay, so again, I'll probably be doing this a little bit faster than you guys might be. Take your time. This is where you're really like kind of finding your stride. I like to sometimes find some new shapes that have been created by the overlaps, because the overlap starts to give us potentially a new shape to our figure. And what you might want to do as well is take some of these patterns that we've got that you might have printed out, and I'm going to start to reference those, putting a few of those, and then notice that I'm crossing over different lines now. Things aren't confined by the spaces, which I think is really liberating. It's really nice. Should have maybe got some paint out there. Think about using as many different kinds of materials as you've got available to you. I'm going to take this here, this pattern, and I'm going to start to draw that in there as well. And I'm looking at what's on the page, what's on my pages, but you could very easily look around the room, look what you're wearing. Is there any art on the wall that you might be inspired by? I'm going to quickly put some faces in. I just literally make up my face. I do a little quick squiggle, okay? Don't get scared by the face. Don't leave it till the last minute. But again, look in a mirror, draw your own face if you want to. I'm like, okay, let's take some of this. I might just get the paint out. Again, like I said, I'm rushing through this, but you can really take your time and you can do as many different versions as you like. And that's why I say it's kind of almost like designing. And think about the background, put some hair on if you want to. I've very much been very pattern-led, but you could have very easily turned this into a coat, or you could very much have turned, especially this one, could have been like a wrap dress or something. You know, there's loads of different options. And yeah, I could definitely go more with this, 100%. Let's put some stripes. But I think as it stands, hopefully it will just be enough to get you started and feeling excited and inspired. So, I mean, this is my finished version. It's fun and it's lively. And like I said, it's about the experience rather than what it ends on. But I might show you shortly another version of one where I had a little bit extra time. Okay, ta-da! Okay, guys, so here is a version that took a little bit longer. You can also see that I changed the scale as well. Like, I do like to work really large scale as well. That's quite nice, but you can see you can really go for it. I've started to add like a little ruff here. Every area is covered. So that's why it's nice to do quite a few versions of it. And if you could photocopy your outline, like before you add the colours, then you have lots and lots of different options. Like you could do it 10 different ways, which is what designing is all about. Anyway, there we go. Thank you.